TomoNews presents, Hey, that's my seat, you little son of a bitch!
Entitled Flyers Fight grounds flight over knee defender. A United Airlines flight from Newark to Denver was diverted after two passengers got in a fight over entitlement to recline seats. A man in the middle of the 12th row on United Flight 1462 used this device called the knee defender to prevent the woman in front of him from reclining. The man wanted to use his laptop, which would have been difficult if the woman reclined. But with Knee Defender, you just lower your tray table, then place the tiny plastic chocks on the arms. Now you can use your laptop in peace and even recline while you do so, if you wish. The flight attendant asked the man to remove the device, but he refused. They couldn't decide who was more entitled, him to use his laptop or her to recline her seat. Especially since they both paid for Economy Plus seating, meaning they already had 4 more inches of legroom than the other sardines packed into coach. The flight was diverted to Chicago after the woman threw a cup of water in the man's face. Then they were both kicked off the flight and the plane continued to Denver without them. The FAA has not banned the Knee Defender because it doesn't pose a specific safety risk. But they might change their tune after one angry passenger makes the flyer one row back swallow them whole. What's your take? Who do you think was in the right?
Yet another flight diverted over reclining seat fight. Stories about planes being diverted because of petty arguments about reclining seats are slowly becoming a dime a dozen. An angry Delta Airlines passenger during a flight from New York to Palm Beach, Florida on Monday is just the latest person to cause enough of a commotion over reclining seats to successfully ground a commercial plane. The passenger, identified as Amy Karen Fine, was reportedly attempting to get some shut-eye on her tray table when a woman who was knitting in the seat in front of her tried to recline back. Despite no reported injuries, the attempt must have caused the 32-year-old quite a deal of pain and anguish because she next apparently began screaming, cussing up a storm, and demanding the plane land immediately. When the plane landed in Jacksonville, Fine was, unsurprisingly, escorted off the plane by police. The incident represents the 3rd time a plane was forced to land because of an argument over reclining seats in just 9 days. What do you think the airline should do about this problem?
Woman is choked out by fellow passenger over a reclining seat. With shrinking domestic flight seats and almost non-existent legroom, one burning question could make or break a passenger freakout: to recline or not to recline. This guy, it seems, is firmly on the side of not, after having a mid-air meltdown over one recliner on his flight. The Southwest Airlines flight from LA to San Francisco was already running late when it left around 10 p.m. Sunday. Things turned ugly minutes after takeoff when a man in business attire started choking the woman sitting in front of him for tilting her seat back. While the woman panicked and screamed, the man remained calm throughout the whole episode. Very creepy. After crew members came to the woman's aid and helped restrain the man, the pilot turned the plane around and made an emergency landing at LAX. Police waiting at the tarmac detained the man for questioning. The remaining passengers switched planes and eventually arrived in San Francisco hours later. Needless to say, none of them were too thrilled. Good job pissing off 136 passengers, guy in glasses.
French company decides face-to-face airplane seating. A French manufacturer of aircraft passenger seats has filed a patent for a new seating design that would increase cabin capacity by having passengers face each other. The design is being met with strong objection by potential travelers. Zodiac Seats France's latest design, called Economy Class Cabin Hexagon, alternates the cabin seats between facing forward and facing backwards in order to increase cabin density. The bottoms of the seat can be folded up, allowing passengers to access the middle and window seats. The company claims that the new design can increase space for the shoulder and arm areas, as well as give each passenger 4 more inches of legroom. However, the company says it has no plans to put the new design into production at the moment.
Airbus files a patent for stacked passenger seating. French aircraft maker Airbus is foretelling the possible future of air travel, whether you like it or not, with designs for cabin seating wherein flyers would be arranged in alternating rows on upper and lower levels. Hoping to make better use of unused upper lobe space in wide-bodied models such as the A380, Airbus has filed patents in Europe and the United States for split-level seating configurations. With what the company calls mezzanine seating, more passengers could recline to a flat lying position. The proposed seating configurations would allow airlines to fit more people into a plane than they do currently. The economic benefits to airlines are obvious, but flyers may not be ready for these controversial ideas. Floating weird seating arrangements is nothing new for Airbus. Last year, it filed a patent for standing saddle seats.
Airbus looks to introduce economy-class sleeping boxes on long flights. A good night's rest could finally be possible for coach passengers with Airbus's new sleep pods. Aircraft manufacturer Airbus recently filed a U.S. patent for economy-class sleeping boxes on long-haul flights. The plastic boxes stacked beside and on top of each other are padded for safety, with no corners or edges. Each box has a personal TV, grip rails, an emergency oxygen system, loudspeaker, aircon vent, lamp, and video camera so attendants can monitor passengers. Beds are safe to occupy during taxi, takeoff, and landing, since passengers lie perpendicular to the direction of the flight. In-flight meals would also be served directly to the boxes, although passengers can opt to buy an additional seat.
Airbus files patent for removable cabin modules. French airmaker Airbus has come up with a new way to shave off time between flights. The patent designs the company released detail removable cabin modules, which could be swapped in and out of an aircraft to reduce turnaround time between flights. Airbus's concept for removable cabin modules would have passengers board a detached cabin from a docking station in anticipation of a plane's arrival. Passengers seat themselves while their luggage is stored, reducing processing time for boarding. Once the empty aircraft arrives in the terminal, the fully loaded cabin container would be lowered into the plane, locking into place before the plane departs. Once the flight lands at its destination, it pulls into a new gate at the airport, where the removable cabin would detach and be lifted up into a docking station. The plane would then be prepared to take on a new cabin of passengers. Although plans for such planes may never become a reality, it sure is fun to imagine less of a mess and less stress when it comes to flying.
A British company has designed adjustable airline seats that can be widened according to the size of the passenger. The seat is designed without traditional foam padding. A single piece of fabric forms the back of the 3 seats. Another piece forms the seats themselves. The height of the seats are adjustable by moving the seat formers, while the dividers can be shifted left and right, creating larger or smaller seats. All 3 seats take up a standard economy bench size of 54 inches in width. Smaller people or children could pay lower fares for taking slimmer seats, while larger travelers or those who want extra room could be asked to pay more. The company says the design has caught the interest of major aircraft manufacturers such as Boeing and Airbus.
United Airlines to install more seating on Boeing 777 planes. One of America's biggest airlines this week confirmed it will modify some of its planes to include more seating in economy. United Airlines are planning to retrofit the coach cabins on some of its Boeing 777s from a 9-seat 2-5-2 layout to 10 abreast seating in a 3-4-3 configuration. The change will reportedly add 20 extra seats. The modification will be applied to 19 of United's 74 domestic Boeing 777s. These planes fly mostly to and from Hawaii. Meanwhile, those on international routes will continue to seat 9 across in economy. 10 abreast seating is becoming a popular airline trend, with Boeing saying half of the 777s delivered last year were made with that layout.
Former Marine booted from plane for being too fat to fly. American Airlines is under fire after a veteran was reportedly kicked off a flight for being too fat. Chris Shelley had just boarded a flight in Dallas bound for Orange County on Friday when, he says, a petite old lady sat down next to him, then moments later got up and walked to the front of the aircraft. Apparently, she'd gone to the front of the plane and complained that the man was too big for his seat. Shelley says the crew told him he was 2 inches over the seat and said he'd have to leave the flight. The average economy class seat on a US domestic flight is between 17 and 19 inches wide, but there's no specific law for passenger width, and each airline operates differently. Back on the plane, Shelley said he was made to feel like, quote, not only a criminal, but a fat criminal. After begging the airline to ask the woman to switch seats with him as a compromise, Shelley was eventually allowed back on the flight. Shelley is a former Marine and flies frequently, up to 100,000 miles a year. He's received 2 apology emails from American Airlines, which says it is investigating the incident.
Top 10 urban legends about flying. How many do you know? People can get sucked out of an airplane if you open doors during flight. You can get stuck to the airplane toilet if you flush while seated. Don't be silly. The Daily Mail published an article titled 10 Myths About Air Travel That You Should Know Before Flying to debunk some popular mile-high legends. It's physically impossible for a person to open an airplane door mid-flight. When the cabin is pressurized and the plane's flying at a high altitude, the difference in air pressure is too great. And there's no way your butt's gonna get stuck to an airplane toilet seat. Your butt would have to create an airtight seal, which is nearly impossible. If there's any gap, you won't get stuck. Ever heard that airlines dump waste in flight? Nope, your waste is stored in a tank until landing. Can you get drunk quicker on a plane? I wish, but it's nonsense. Some people think an airplane will crash if it gets hit by lightning. Nope, the current would only flow through the body of the plane. Will the oxygen mask get you high? Unfortunately, no. They only allow you to continue breathing. Can the air on a plane make you sick? Well, the air has been heavily filtered to remove bacteria. However, the drinking water and tray tables carry more germs. Ew. Smoking is banned in toilets, but they are still equipped with ashtrays just in case any smoker needs to dispose of a cigarette butt. If anyone around you still believes these legends, it's high time you set them straight. Spirit Airlines accused of racism after booting passengers. Spirit Airlines, the budget airline known for charging customers additional fees for everything, is being accused of discrimination after flight attendants asked police to remove at least 6 black passengers from a flight. It began when one black passenger with his wife was told their seats had been double booked. When the man refused to accept an alternate seat, attendants called LAX airport police to remove the passenger. The situation escalated when police arrived and another group of passengers were also asked to leave, all of whom were black. Alexandra Wright was one of those passengers and said she felt humiliated. 4 passengers became unruly and were causing trouble with other passengers, Spirit Airlines said in a statement. Flight crew asked them to stop. When they did not, they were removed from the flight. All of those removed were given hotel vouchers. Do you think this was discrimination? Or is Spirit Airlines going to start charging customers for having a voice?
Here's 3 reasons why Chinese tourists might be our #1 airborne threat. Whether deserved or not, in decades past, American tourists had a reputation for being loud, rude, and culturally insensitive. Move over, Yanks! Chinese travelers have clearly surpassed you to become the least well-behaved tourists on the planet, as these 3 incidents on planes in recent days demonstrate. Last Sunday, a Chinese man in his mid-50s opened the emergency exit on a Xiamen Air flight moments before takeoff. Why on earth would he do this? I just needed some fresh air, was his explanation to astonished cabin crew. Around the same time, a similar situation occurred on a China Eastern Airlines flight. One of that guy's countrymen deployed the emergency slide after his China Southern Airlines flight landed. The passenger casually explained that he was, quote, eager to get out of the plane. He apparently didn't know that opening an emergency exit when there was no emergency is an airplane no-no. The reckless act caused $16,000 damage to the slide. The airplane plans to bill the man. Ignorance is one thing, outright assholery is another. Days earlier, a female Chinese passenger and her boyfriend began arguing with a flight attendant over a seating arrangement on their AirAsia flight from Bangkok to Nanjing. Without warning, the crazy poured a boiling cup of instant noodles on the flight attendant, who then burst into tears. The boyfriend then threatened to blow up the plane. The pilot turned back towards Bangkok where the couple was arrested. Their insane behavior delayed the journey by 5 hours. In most other countries, this kind of thing could land you in jail. For this pair, the Chinese government has put them on a travel blacklist.
Chinese man storms first class with economy class ticket. A Chinese man bought an economy class ticket from Ningbo to Beijing on January 20th. The problem, however, was that he sat in an empty seat in first class instead. The captain had him removed from the plane by police due to safety concerns. Another domestic flight disturbance occurred in Wuhan. A man tried to open the emergency exit door before landing because he was in a hurry. His stupidity caused the flight to be delayed 5 hours.